everybody, it's Jamie from Play to Learn Preschool coming to you on a Friday night. In a very rare occurrence, I have the house to myself, and Jem and I had a very busy afternoon trying to get everything set up for next week. We didn't get to do a video, but here I am in a quiet house and had a couple of minutes. So I thought I would hop on to talk to you a little bit as a follow-up from our video yesterday. So yesterday, Gemma and I shared with you what we do with our 3-year-olds for morning work. So when our students come in, they all sort of arrive at the same time, but it takes them a different amount of time, of course, to get their backpack and their coat and everything hung up. So we start the day with a little morning work. We shared yesterday that we do name activities with our 3-year-olds. So they come in each morning, and after they get unpacked, they go down to our circle time carpet prior to our morning meeting and do a name activity. A lot of people who watch the video, thank you for watching the video, then ask the question, do you do the same thing with your older 4-year-old pre-K students? And the answer is not usually. And so I'm here to just do a quick video and show you what we do with our older pre-K 4s. Hello, hi everybody. So most of our students, probably 8 out of 9 or 10, maybe even 9 out of 9 or 10, most of our students are with us for 2 years. So if they were with us the entire year of their 3s, and then they come back for that second year before they start kindergarten and pre-K, then for the most part, they know their names because we spent the whole year of their 3s year doing morning work with their names. They can recognize their name, they're spelling their name orally, and for the most part, they are writing a version of their name that we can recognize as theirs. Like when they sign their artwork or they sign in each morning, we can recognize that's their name. For students who start with us the pre-K year, we might spend the first month or 2 also doing name work with them. It just kind of depends. It just kind of depends on like where they are. Were they in another preschool? Do they know their name? Are they writing it? Or is this their very first school experience? And if it's their very first school experience, we will probably start them with name activities, just like we would with our 3s. But the students who've been with us for a year, when they come to pre-K, we start them on what we call folder games. They're just little activities. You could put them in a binder or in a bag. For us, it's just really efficient and cheap to make them into folder games. So what I thought I would do is share the types of folder games that we do, share our thought process for how we choose a folder game for each student, and then also finally just share with you how we manage it, like how we manage storing them and tracking which kids have done them and which skills they're working on. So we are a play-based preschool, Play to Learn Preschool, and believe very firmly that kids need lots of opportunities to play, that they learn through play, right? But we also know that they need to practice sort of these like kindergarten readiness skills, like doing work and, like kind of sitting and practicing kind of these things that they need to do for kindergarten. And they also need this set of skills in their toolbox just so that they have a leg up and they're really prepared when they start kindergarten in public school. And those skills in the toolbox are identifying the letters, making letter sounds, identifying rhymes, identifying numbers, colors, shapes, starting to do sorting, and all of those kinds of things. So we just spent about 5 minutes in the morning on these arrival activities. All that to say, here are the folders that we do for our students and also sort of how we manage them. So we have a bunch of different folders. You can see the way that we manage them is each kid has a clip with their name and their picture, and before they arrive, we clip the folder with their name, and then they just come through and dig and pick out the one that they're supposed to do that morning. So then they get the one that has their clip on it, they do their folder, and then we check it. So that's how they find the one that's theirs, and it's in this basket every morning. And then how we choose which one they get is a little bit more complicated than how they pick the one off the table. So this is Gemma's project. I'm showing it off, she's not here. But I'm showing off her big project. I make all the folders, I design all of them, I come up with all of the skills and the objectives, and then she puts them all together and manages this. So we started collecting folder games right from the very beginning, sort of back, in 2005 or whenever we started. And we used to cut them, this is old school, 2005, 2006. We used to cut them out of the Mailbox magazine. Did you all used to get Mailbox? And it used to have like a little folder game or a little activity like right in the middle of the Mailbox. And every month we would like cut it out and glue them. I know Gemma's gonna be upset if I mess these up. And oh no, nothing to see here. I'm just randomly pulling them out and just glue them into a folder. And then we started to be a little bit more like precise about what skills we wanted. So we've created a bunch of our own based on what we know that our students need. That's Gemma in the comments as Play-Doh in preschool. And she's like, don't pull my folders out. We have created skills and folders to match what we know that our students need over the past few years. And I'm just gonna kind of share them with you. So the one that we always start the year with are simple visual discrimination. Gemma. Matching games. He's gonna kill me. I'm gonna make a pile. Gemma, I'm talking to you. I'm gonna make a pile of the ones that I pull out, and then you can file them back in next week so I don't mess it up. Okay, so the ones that we always start with are these visual discrimination matching games. And matching is a really good pre-reading skill because it requires students to look carefully at a picture or an object, notice its features, and find other pictures that match exactly. The reason that visual discrimination is so important for students is because then when they start to learn their letters, they need to be able to visually discriminate the difference between like a capital E and a capital F. Those letters are very similar. Straight line down, a couple horizontal lines, right? But if they've been taught to look for the subtle differences, then they can notice that the E has 3 horizontal lines and the F only has 2. Same thing with the capital M and W, same thing with the P and the B, same thing with the O and the Q. They need to be able to notice subtle differences before they can start to recognize letters. So that's why we always start with visual discrimination. And the way that we do this is on the back, we've just glued, we actually run it through our Xyron, a baggie with pieces. So they come in, they take their pieces out, they open up their folder on the floor, they don't balance it like this. And what they have to do is look at the picture and find the one that looks exactly the same. And you'll see that they're visually similar. Like these are both blue, but this one has stripes and this one has polka dots. So they have to find the ones that are the same. And if you kind of start to think through the process in their brains, this is the same process we're gonna ask them to go through when they need to start to identify letters and tell the difference between the N and the Z, right? Is to notice like, oh, the N is this way, or the N is up and down and the Z is side to side, right? So we have a whole set of these visual discrimination. They're super easy for our pre-K students. And the reason we like to use them at the very beginning of the year for the first week or two is because it teaches them the process of picking their folder out of the basket, taking the pieces out, doing the folder, and then we call it like wait to be checked. So basically just a teacher looks over, makes sure everything is right, and then we make a little note on the back. We've got a class list, and we just kind of make a plus if they did it perfectly, or if they needed some help, or some modifications, or they got some of them right. Then we would make a little note. So we just quickly check them. It's not a big deal. It's like they come in, we kind of just do it on a rolling basis. When they're done, they throw it back in this basket, still with their clip on it, and then they can look at a book. Okay. Oh, Gemma. She's gonna quit. You guys are gonna be on the videos next week and I'll be like, I'm looking for a new assistant. She quit because I messed up all of her folders in the system. Okay, so after we do visual discrimination with pictures, the next logical step is starting to do visual discrimination with letters. Now, see, I do not know the system. Miss Gemma is totally in charge of the system. Okay, so, oh boy, there we go. Oh, do you know what? I bet it's because we're doing them because it's been a month. Yeah, they are in here. Okay, so then the next thing we start to do is matching with letters. And it kind of looks like this. This is actually an example of an old one from those mailbox magazines. So this is nests and birds, and they are the same letters, upper to uppercase. So it's the same visual discrimination that they were doing with the pictures, but now this time they're doing them with the letters. So they can match the Z, right, instead of the N. So that's kind of like the next logical step, is matching with letters to letters. Oh, Gemma, I'm just gonna make a little pile. I have a pile waiting when you return to school next week. Some of the other skills that we work on with these folder games are categorization, which is actually really super hard for some kids and really super easy for other kids. And categorization looks like this. It's like that old song from Sesame Street. Which one of these is not like the others? Which one of these is not the same? And for this one, it's a line. So we teach them to just look at the line. And 3 things are the same or similar, and 1 is different. And we just give them a bag of poker chips. I feel like a poker chip theme this week is what's gonna go down in history. And they just use a chip and mark the one that's different. So they have 6 chips and there are 6 lines. We kind of have to show them. Some of them we've cut apart, which is easier to see, and some we haven't. This one is a little bit tricky. A teddy bear, scissors, backpack, and glue. Which 3 of these things do you take to school and when you don't, right? Kid reading a book, kid reading a book, kid reading a book, kid with no book. So she's different. So they would put the chips on the one that doesn't belong, right? So categorization is good for making a pile. Oral language. Here are some of the other ones that we do. This is a super simple one. This is out of our, probably the dental health circle time unit. And what it is, these are different colored toothbrushes, and the students will open it up and it's a color matching. So they take the red toothbrush and they match it to the red tooth, and it says the color word on there. So that's another simple one. Our goal with these is not to teach the skill at all. Our goal is twofold. It's first to reinforce the skills that we've already been working on, and second, again, to sort of teach them the routine of getting a center, doing the work, and putting it back, right? Sort of that more like kindergarten routine. We only do these with our pre-K students. So these are students who will start kindergarten in the fall of 2020. They have less than a year before kindergarten. So that's what we do with them. We have some that are syllable sorts, and these are a little bit trickier. Let's see if I can find a good one. This is an old one. Food syllable sort. So they're gonna take their pictures out here. And again, we keep a little checklist, and I know it's backwards for you. And some of the pictures have 1 clap and some have 2. So we maybe have already been working on syllables, and they say the picture, cherries, cherries, and put it on the 2. So they're just sorting 1 syllable and 2 syllable. Some of them, when we start, probably in December and January, we're gonna really start working on sorting by letter sounds. So we have a whole bunch, and this is really hard for kids. It's hard for them to listen to the first sound of the letter. Some kids it actually comes really naturally, but most kids this is a tricky skill for pre-K. So it's a bunch of pictures, and if you have this set from our TPT store, they had words at the bottom, and they still do, I think, when you print them off. But our students were looking at the words and not listening to the sounds, so we just trimmed it off with some scissors. For this one, they're going to sort words that start with the L, like lock, versus words that start with a K, like key. So on the inside, there's a lock and a key. They have to say the picture, ladder, and listen to the first sound. Lock, key. What does it sound like? It starts with L, like lock. And so here's ketchup. Does it start with lock or key? Right, so they're just going to be sorting the beginning sounds, not looking at the spelling, just listening with their ears. Can they hear the first sound of the word? We, of course, have lots of math games as well. Gemma, I love you. I'm sorry I'm messing this up. Here's another example. These are shapes. So they are just plain black and white shapes on the inside of the folder. And then the pictures are different fish in different shapes. So this is like a fish in the shape of a, what is that, a hexagon. So they would put it up here on the hexagon. And here's a fish in the shape of a circle. So they would put it on the circle. So we've got shape matching. We have some that are counting and numbers. And then every year we have a few like superstar students, like kids who have already started reading and they've got all these basic skills already in their toolbox. And so we might start working on word families with them. We just have this is a like 15 years accumulation of folders. We occasionally toss some out if Gemma and I pull it out and we're like, that actually looks like it's from 2005, either because it's all beat up or because the pictures, we have something better. You know how it goes. Know better, do better. So this is our arsenal of file folder games. And to answer the questions from everyone who messaged yesterday or left a comment, this is what we do with our pre-K students for morning work. We choose based on how well we know them, right? Are they ready to do letter sounds? Are they ready to do rhyming? Are they ready to do counting or shapes or numbers or colors? What are we working on? And we choose a folder for them. So it's not necessarily like they have to go in order from 1 to 100 or 1 to 80, however many days we have at preschool. It's really like, what do they need to work on? What are they showing that they are starting to understand and they just need additional practice? Again, we're not using them to teach new skills. We're not using them to assess. It's just for practice, for that daily practice. And it's good for us to spot check too, like, oh, so-and-so's really doing well with that. I think we can move on to something a little bit harder. Or so-and-so's still really struggling with identifying the numbers up to 6. So let's keep pulling folders that have numbers up to 6 before we add numbers up to 10 or something like that. Gemma is really good about keeping track of who's done what and pulling out new ones for kids who are ready to move forward or pulling out other ones for kids who need more time to practice those skills. And the last thing I wanted to say is that in terms of management, we do send home a little note each day with our parents. We shared that a couple of years ago in one of our very first videos, and we'll have to share it again soon. But we do note on their parent form what their morning work skill was, and then we either circle, your child has mastered this skill, your child is working on this skill, or is not yet ready for this skill. And every once in a while we pull one, we think they're gonna be fine, and then they do it and we're like, that was way too hard. And so we'll just circle, not yet ready. It doesn't mean your child is not ever gonna do it. It just means they need more time before they're ready to complete that skill successfully. So anyway, this is what we do for our pre-K morning work. And the 3s do name work. So I hope that that helps answer some questions. I will leave links in the video description after I log off. And if you have other questions that we didn't answer while I was live, leave them in the comments and I will come back and try to respond to you. Okay, have an awesome weekend. Relax, recharge, unplug, try to take some time for yourself, and we will see you again next week. Bye, everybody.